For so many people, the Passover sacrifice isn't some dusty old story. It's a real, living commandment from the Torah. And every single year, you can feel this incredible desire, this powerful pull to bring that ritual back to life on the Temple Mount. It's a really big deal.
So that begs the question, right? If the commandment is so clear and the passion is so strong, why isn't it happening? What's the holdup? And you might think the answer is political or maybe something social, but it's not. The real reason, and this is what we're going to dive into, is buried in this incredibly precise, fascinating web of Jewish law.
And this quote right here, it really nails it. Noble intention alone does not validate a mitzvah. See, in Jewish law, doing a commandment, a mitzvah, isn't just about having your heart in the right place. It has to be done perfectly. We're talking about following a very specific divine blueprint. If you're off by even a little bit, the whole thing could be invalid.
So yeah, the passion is absolutely there. But actually doing this mitzvah, that is a whole other story. It's governed by these incredibly specific rules that you just can't bend. It's so much more complicated than just, showing up with a lamb and hoping for the best.
Let's stick with that blueprint idea. The law lays out everything, the exact spot, how the altar has to be built, the precise height of the ground, and even the ritual purity of everyone involved. It's like a finely tuned machine, and if just one of those tiny pieces is out of place, well, the whole thing just doesn't work.
Okay, so let's dig in. And I mean that literally. We're going to start with the most basic problem of all, the ground itself, the very earth where this sacrifice would have to happen.
This holy area is called the Azarah. Think of it as the inner courtyard of the temple. And the law is crystal clear. The altar has to be in one very specific, non-negotiable spot inside it. A spot that was set in stone, you could say, thousands of years ago. It can't be moved.
And this is where you can really see the problem, side by side. On one hand, the Torah says you need an altar of earth. It has to be sitting right on the natural bedrock. But look at what we have today on the Temple Mount. Beautiful paving stones, sure, but they're sitting on top of man-made fill and arches. And get this, the Torah says you can't use stones cut with iron tools for the altar, but the very platform we're talking about is built with them. It's a total mismatch.
So here's the bottom line. The law demands a direct connection to the natural earth, to the bedrock. And today's platform? It completely cuts that connection. So from a strict legal perspective, any offering you try to make on those stones, it's invalid from the get-go. It just doesn't count.
But wait, it gets even more complicated. The problems don't just stop at the ground. It's not only about what the altar is sitting on. It's also about how high it is. This is where we get into this really fascinating issue of sacred geography.
So picture the second temple. It had a very specific layout. You'd walk into the main entrance, the porch area called the Ulam, and then you'd actually have to walk down 12 steps to get to the courtyard, the Azarah, where the altar was. So the altar was deliberately placed on lower ground.
And we're not talking about a little step down either. This was a pretty big drop, about 6 cubits, which comes out to roughly 9 feet. That height difference was a really important part of the temple's whole design.
So what's the problem today? Well, centuries of building and rebuilding have totally changed the area. The whole platform has been raised up and flattened out. That crucial 9-foot difference in height, it's just gone, wiped away by construction.
Okay, and this is where it gets really wild. Because these problems, the location, the elevation, they don't just exist on their own. They set off a chain reaction, like a whole line of ritual dominoes falling over. One problem messes up the next, and the next. Let's trace it out.
All right, so here's the first domino to fall. If you tried to build a kosher altar on the platform as it is today, its very base would be about 9 feet too high. The whole thing would be completely out of whack, ritually speaking, and that one mistake has massive ripple effects.
So why does 9 feet matter so much? Here's why. An altar that's too high would literally block the view from the Mount of Olives, and that specific line of sight is absolutely essential for the red heifer ceremony. That's the ritual that's needed to purify everyone from the most serious kind of ritual impurity. And without that purification, you can't have full temple service. It all grinds to a halt. See? One physical problem leads to a whole cascade of ritual problems.
Now you might be thinking, aren't there workarounds? And yeah, the law does have some special rules for when the whole community is ritually impure. But here's the thing. Those rules don't fix the core issue. They can't just magically make an incorrectly placed altar valid. The whole system, the whole shebang, it all rests on having that altar in the right spot.
So, okay, we've laid out all these hurdles that seem, frankly, impossible to overcome. So is that it? Is there any path forward?
Well, according to this legal analysis, yes, there is. But it's almost certainly not what you're thinking.
A quick, symbolic offering on the ground as it is today, that's just not going to cut it. No matter how much passion is behind it, it would fail on basically every count. Wrong foundation, wrong height, no valid altar. It just wouldn't count as fulfilling the commandment. Not even close.
And that brings us to the real punchline of this whole analysis. It's a huge shift in perspective. The point is, the conversation shouldn't start with the knife, the symbol of the sacrifice itself. No, it has to start with the spade, with the hard, physical work of getting the foundation right. First things first.
And that leaves us with this really powerful final question, doesn't it? It suggests that to fulfill this commandment, the way forward isn't about rushing to build up, it's about being willing to patiently and carefully dig down. It's a fascinating paradox when you think about it. To truly go up in divine service, maybe the first step is you have to be willing to go all the way down to the bedrock.
Follow Yosef for more at mishnawalk.substack.com.